In Silicon Valley, it's easier to find a billionaire or person with a trending app than it is a parking spot. And so what is it about Peter Thiel that makes him stand out so much? Thiel has created an aura around him, one that can even be described possibly as a mystique. The man is a billionaire a few times over, and a co-founder of PayPal. Despite all this, not a lot of people know just how respected Peter Thiel really is over there in the tech landscape. That's why we are going to cover the man, as well as his extraordinary mind, in great detail for this video. Make sure you stick around until the end too, as we discuss what it is about him that makes him so unique. Chapter 1. Creating a Genius. Peter Thiel was born in 1967 in West Germany. Despite this, Peter and his family moved to the United States when he was just 1 year old, and so most of his life was spent in America. Peter would study at Stanford, where he became very interested in philosophy. Being gifted at a young age, it seemed like Peter could thrive in whatever life he wanted to pursue, and it seemed like Peter was very interested in social issues. He would be one of the founding members of the Stanford Review, where he would write about social issues, like his distaste for political correctness in 1987. Politics and social justice issues were always important to Peter, even if most people didn't realize exactly how much at the time. Peter himself spends just as much time thinking and analyzing as he does working on his business, and so it seems like he's more than comfortable being a sort of combo. His political aspirations and pursuits didn't really arrive until later on in his career, but they are important to note here as they basically shape his entire aura. It's also why he may seem so strange to the engineers and creatives in Silicon Valley, as Peter is one of the rare philosophers that can also hold his own when things start to get technical. Peter would stay in Stanford to pursue his law degree, which he would receive in 1992. Peter would pen another piece of writing while there, this one named The Diversity Myth. As you have probably noticed by now, Peter was incredibly interested in writing about social and political issues, even from a young age. His writings were highly regarded at the school, and even today some circles of Silicon Valley stop whenever Peter Thiel decides to publish his works. Chapter 2. Meeting Musk. Peter Thiel and Elon Musk have lived pretty interconnected lives, and it all started following Peter's time at Stanford. 6 years after graduating, in 1998, Peter and a few colleagues developed Confinity, which was designed to handle payments between Palm Pilots. The service was a sort of precursor to PayPal, which Thiel and Musk would work on in just a short while. Speaking of Musk, a year after starting Confinity, Peter and Elon would finally meet. It would be because Elon Musk was acquiring it, at least in part. The service was merging with Elon's website called X.com, and this would both result in huge profits for the future billionaires. The two operations actually shared a floor even before the merger, and so the two companies already had a fantastic working relationship. PayPal would spawn from Confinity and X.com's combination, and Peter would serve as the CEO and chairman. The goal here was to create a new global currency, with PayPal as the middleman or buffer. Because of those lofty goals, a lot of things had to be worked out first. For one, the site needed to be very secure, as money was constantly changing hands here. The site also had to handle a lot of traffic, which was more of Musk's area of expertise. Specializing in internet transfers, it didn't take long for PayPal to take off and become a household name. The service was also aided by the fact that eBay was using PayPal to handle their own transfers. In the late 90s and early 2000s, this was a huge deal, as eBay was becoming a massive service with millions of people signing on every day. In 2002, after a few years of working together, eBay decided to purchase PayPal so that they would have full control of the company. They had been blowing up even more than PayPal at the time, and eventually acquired the online banking service for $1.5 billion. The goal of making a new global currency would live on, however, years later, as Elon began to funnel money into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. How did the whole PayPal incident affect Thiel and Musk's relationship? Well, some would argue that it was already fractured beyond repair before the ink was even dry. You see, when the merger between Elon and Peter's company originally happened, Elon was supposed to guide the company. After a short period in charge, though, Peter held an emergency meeting while Elon was on vacation. Apparently, Peter threatened the board into making a decision that would put Peter in control of the company and would quietly push Elon out. The evidence around this claim is sometimes disputed, and Peter denies that this event ever took place, but it would describe the tension that occurs when Peter and Elon share a room together. What would Peter Thiel do now that his first business venture was now over? He was given millions of dollars but now had much more time than he was used to. We'll discuss just how Peter capitalized on the PayPal deal in a second, but before we do, if you could leave a like on the video, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Chapter 3: Making the Pen Mightier Than the Sword. The mind of Peter Thiel is arguably his most important quality, and it's the part of him that he is most proud of. From a young age, Peter pushed himself to be the sharpest he could, and that meant activities like speed chess and advanced puzzles. As Peter got older, it meant spending extended periods of time with his Stanford professor, Gerard. From Gerard, Peter learned how to influence people in a way that few other business minds would consider. Peter would use a technique called mimetic desire to sway people, and it worked to great effect. Mimetic desire, for those of you wondering, is giving up your own agency and accepting that people are drawn to making their own conclusions and decisions. Mimetic desire also means that if you are persuaded by someone to make a decision, that you are less likely to fully support it, and more likely to push back and point fingers if it goes wrong. That means that influencing people directly has little positive impact, and that persuasion is more about making someone believe something than it is about giving advice. Thiel was always thinking ahead, and his interest turned drastically following the attacks on September 11th. Reports from those close to Thiel claim that he became increasingly nervous about the threat of further attacks, and as a result, Peter became increasingly involved in politics. This came as little surprise to those that knew the man, though, as he was writing entire books and reports about political issues dating back to his time at Stanford. With privacy rules forever changed following the attack, Peter would roll out a project called Palantir, named after the stone in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He would use the latest hedge fund, Clarium Capital, to bankroll this project, which seeked to create a safer world for Americans. The project apparently used tools from PayPal software to track and monitor data, and also keep track of former criminals and people of interest. While some skeptical of the program have taken shots at it, the numbers clearly don't lie. Peter Thiel's Palantir would hit the open market last year, and would be valued at right around $50 billion US. Among those interested in using the software are the CIA and NYPD, both of which are currently utilizing the software at their own facilities. Chapter 4: A Never-Before-Seen Approach to Business. Peter Thiel remains an amazing person to follow because he is always doing multiple things at once. The man clearly has a pull to doing what he thinks is the right thing politically, and has rubbed shoulders with politicians, lobbyists, and other important figures to make sure that his vision of America comes to be reality. Besides all that, though, Peter still remains a clever and shrewd businessman, and someone with extremely high expectations when it comes to getting a return on his investment. His venture capital firm, Founders Fund, was formed in 2004 and remains focused on investing in riskier businesses that have a chance to change the world. Among these investments is SpaceX, and so maybe that relationship with Elon has been restored after all of these years. Peter also has the company invest in anti-aging companies and companies that can extend a person's life. It's clear that Peter is looking to the future with these types of investments, and for the most part, he has correctly guessed the future. In the year 2022, more emphasis is being placed on space travel than ever, and SpaceX continues to be a very dynamic and interesting company. People are also living longer than ever, and the idea of extending a life even longer is intriguing to many people. Today, Peter has slowed down a bit in his pursuit of wealth. After an unfortunate blog publicly outed Peter Thiel a few years back, the already elusive Thiel took a little bit of time away from the media. Peter has his own foundation in his name, where he gives teenagers money to start a business instead of going to college. Peter has been and always will be a complicated individual. He's a person that's interests don't always seem that apparent, and that makes his interests and passions seem a little strange to onlookers. He is as much of a free thinker as he is a businessman, and he very well might cringe at being called the latter. When it comes to controlling a market, however, and doing what it takes for a company to succeed, there are few better than the former PayPal CEO. Years later, it is still strange to consider that Peter stood alongside future billionaires and innovators while he sat at PayPal, and how ruthless and successful he and his colleagues will become. After so publicly supporting President Trump in 2016, Peter seems to have shifted into more of a focus in politics than one in tech. But that doesn't mean that the folks over in Silicon Valley aren't still hanging on every last word that Peter says. It's very rare that a person would interest people as much in their words as they do in their business sense. Peter is a very rare individual though, and also one that is unlike almost anyone on the planet. The day that we fully understand the mind of Peter Thiel is the day that the earth stands still. And that's about all for our take on Peter Thiel. What do you all think of him? Is he one of the greatest philosopher and business combos of all time? Or do you think he should focus more on business than on politics? Let us know what you think in the comments down below so we can read what you guys think. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give a like on the video, as we appreciate it a lot and it helps us out in a big way. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one.